Call to order the July 28th meeting of the Chagrin Falls Board of Education. Ms. Rudno, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Regan.
Here.
Mrs. Garvey.
Here.
Mrs. Bendel. Here. Mrs. Rose.
Here.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Here.
Okay, if you could all please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance. Okay, first we have the approval of the regular meeting minutes for June 2nd and June 16th. If there's a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from June 2nd and June 16th. I will second that motion.
Okay, any discussion?
I'm planning on abstaining since I was only present for one of those meetings.
Anybody else? Okay, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please call the roll.
Mr. Regan.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Abstain.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Rose.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
Okay, next we move on to board reports where we go through different board committees and members share about their experiences in those committees since our last meeting. If you have no report, just say no report. So first we'll take Mrs. O'Toole with the Audit Committee and Board Policy Committee.
No report for the Audit Committee or the Policy Committee.
Okay. Moving on to Mrs. Garvey for Business Advisory Committee, Capital Planning, and Budget Finance and Budget Committee.
Also, since 2 weeks ago, there's no report for any of those committees. Thank you.
It's been an eventful summer. All right, finally, records retention, and we have no report there. We haven't had a meeting since our last regular meeting. So next, we'd like to move on to Dr. Pizzowski. She's already introduced herself to you, but we definitely would like to, as our first official meeting, welcome her to the Chagrin Falls Exempted School. So welcome to Chagrin Falls.
Appreciate it. Those agendas I promised you, that was only round one, so there's more coming. So as soon as those are available, they'll pass those out. We had hoped tonight to be able to share a PowerPoint with you about the return to school plan. If you're staying current on all the information, you know that the documentation, the guidance, the recommendations have changed even as of today. So I'm not going to present my PowerPoint. I don't think that that's fair because my team that's made the decisions for Chagrin Falls has not had time to review everything. But what I can share with you is where we were prior to new guidance that has come out the last couple days. And so what I can tell you is that our plan, based on what we have so far, and that it's again, not taking in the current guidance, is that we will follow and extend our summer plan. And that's our hope. And so for those families out there that had asked about K-6 students and if they would be masked, I would say that you should plan for that because there hasn't been any guidance that has told us differently. And so as we work through that, the questions become with 712 and staff. The thing that I would tell you to look at if you haven't done so is House Bill 244. That will become law in October. And that limits a school district's ability to differentiate between vaccinated and unvaccinated. And so there are some things to do and some ways to work with that law to make it practical for our school district, and we'll do that. But the new guidance that's coming out is recommending universal masking, and that would be K-12, including staff. So we have not made that decision, and I want you to know that. And as soon as we do come to a more solid decision, then I'll send out an email or some kind of posting so that you're aware. But I'll ask the board then to vote at our next meeting, which I think is scheduled for August 11th. So I just wanted to give you a quick update, and I apologize. We try to stay as current as we can, but it would be very premature of us to make a decision or a recommendation tonight for everyone.
Okay, thank you. We will wait for August
Wait.
11th, see if any further guidance comes out. Okay. Moving on, we have audience community participation. So community members are one way for citizens to communicate with the Board of Education. Community members that contact the superintendent in advance will be provided an opportunity to speak first. Public comment may be limited to 30 minutes in total, and each participant will have 3 minutes to speak. No person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. When you are called upon by the board president, please stand and state your name, address, and topic. Remember, this is a forum and an official meeting of the Board of Education. What you say becomes part of the official meeting report. If your comment involves a problem with a student, employee, or board member, please do not address them by name. Keep in mind that we are in a schoolhouse and possibly in the presence of students. At this time, the primary role of the Board of Education is to listen and reflect upon your comments. So I believe at this point, the process that we're going to follow, Mr. Doherty is very well set up a timer, so it's going to be very transparent to everybody, you know, how much time is allotted per speaker. He'll restart that with every additional person that speaks. We're going to go in the order that folks contacted us. So we've kept the list of that. We do have a couple that where we are reading letters for folks. And then we do have, I believe, 5 additional folks that signed up for time on their way in. As I said, we're going to go ahead and do the first 30 minutes, and then we will vote for additional time. Or do you want to? Okay, then then we'll vote for additional time after the initial 30 minutes. So, does that makes any?
Do you want to let Mrs. Bruno manage the list? Would that be easier?
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easy enough. I can do that.
Do we want him to come to the microphone?
All right.
Good point. Yes, microphone is there in front. We are obviously live streaming the meeting as well. So, you know, we've already tested the audio and the visual to make sure that comments and visualization is being picked up by YouTube. So, does that all make sense to everybody? Any questions about those rules? Okay. Just want to make sure it's clear. All right, so first we have, and I apologize ahead of time, I may not know how to pronounce anybody's name perfectly. So I have Sherry Gravely.
I'm a little short. Okay. Sherry Gravely. I've been watching Facebook posters, call those asking questions about costs and implications of DEIJ efforts, bigots, puppets, right-wing nut jobs, political agitators, and ignorant. DEIJ hasn't helped with civility or discourse, obviously, in our community. And I personally challenge any of you on intellect or information. The definition of ignorance is being uninformed. The only way to be informed is to ask questions. Socratic method, critical thinking, whatever you want to call it. That's the intelligent thing to do. So my questions have been to analyze the potential implications of the program. I'd advise all Chagrin Falls taxpayers to read the minutes of the meetings. There's some ideas that many can agree with, and some that are very controversial. But there's one statement that should make all CF taxpayers concerned about the effort. At the April 12th Board of Ed and School Leadership meeting, this minutes state that they would like to change CF schools from the idea of success based on academics and advanced classes to the development of a more well-rounded citizen of the community. The most essential job of public schools is to deliver the highest quality academics possible. Why would school leadership suggest that the Chagrin Falls schools change the primary mission from academics to an abstract, unquantifiable mission? What would that mean in our schools? What would the cost be? What would be forfeited? That's the question every informed taxpayer should be asking. I've researched what's happened in other school districts. Some states are working to eliminate advanced honors and AP classes. Is that what the Board of Education and school leadership means by changing our schools? I was personally in a meeting 2 years ago where our high school principal suggested getting rid of APs or letting any student take any class. I asked if we consider making all sports no cut and requiring equal playing time for all players. Wouldn't that be more equitable? Some schools are banishing classics like To Kill a Mockingbird, Of Mice and Men, Romeo and Juliet. Is Chagrin Falls going to get rid of those classics in the near future? Third grade students in certain schools were forced to rank themselves according to power and privilege so they could accept responsibility for historical wrongs. And children are sorted by race for mandatory classroom exercises. Is that Gurney of tomorrow? And DEIJ training teaches students and teachers to use bigoted terminology in their discussions. Terms like white fragility, spirit murder, abolishing whiteness, encouraging people to be traitors to their whiteness. Is this the new language of our community? Why would Chagrin Falls citizens, led by an outside consultant, want to diminish Chagrin Falls' mission of delivering strong academics? Academics are what taxpayers have funded and supported in public education. Why isn't the board and administrators focused on that? Where's our STEM center? Why don't we have an amazing robotics team? Why is there languishing support for world languages? Where are the great educational field trips? Instead, they're discussing expenditures on a full-time diversity leader, ongoing money spent to the center, Ms. Cooper and her program, surveys and audits, likely new curricula, and annual teacher, student, and community training. The board and schools leadership DIJ investment in time and money is diverting them from the primary mission of the school. It's academics.
Ms. Gravely? Sorry, we're at 3 minutes.
I hope everybody takes time to listen and learn.
Thank you for saying.
I would just ask, I understand your willingness to applaud, but if we could hold it to the end, just because we have a lot of people to get through. That's all I'm asking.
If anybody has written comments, if you would like to leave them for me to put word for word into the minutes, I can absolutely do that. So if you just want to leave them for me, I'll take care of that.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Nicole Mendelson.
Hi, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to face, yeah, that's what I thought, okay. Thanks. Okay. My name is Nicole Mendelson and I live at 75 Hunting Trail in Moreland Hills. First, I'd like to thank the Board of Education and the entire school district for keeping our children safe during this unprecedented year, and I support continued masking in schools. In 2012, my husband and I started considering public school options for our daughter. My husband grew up in Solon and I in Pepper Pike. We always loved the charm of Chagrin Falls, but when it came to considering Chagrin schools an outstanding choice in terms of quality education, we paused when we thought about the possibility that our daughter would be the only Jewish kid in her class. At the end of the day, we made a different decision for our family. Cut to 2019. Once again, we were facing a decision, this time about our son's schooling. Our daughter was in private school, which opened up the entire region for us. Once again, we couldn't resist the pull of Chagrin Falls. Our realtor lived in the village and she gushed about the stellar education her sons were receiving at Gurney. We found a home in the district and we shared the news with our family and friends. Why wouldn't you buy where you'd be welcome? A family member asked. A friend I grew up with lives there. He told me he's experienced some anti-Semitism, one Jewish friend remarked. I love Chagrin, but I just can't imagine living there, a cousin said. Despite their misgivings, we went ahead with our plans. Our concern from 7 years prior was validated when our son was the only Jewish kid in his kindergarten class, and in 2019, school was scheduled in error on Rosh Hashanah. No other school in the area made this mistake. Despite this grousing, we still feel we've made the right choice. Our son is happy. He has been identified as gifted, and because of the equity in education Chagrin offers, he has the resources he needs to continue to grow and thrive. We love our home. We've made many friends with children in the district. Ultimately, we feel welcome here. The hallmark of an enlightened society is endless curiosity and a desire to continuously improve. Chagrin Falls is filled with people who are passionate about learning and education. It is, after all, what brings us here today. Thus, we were alarmed to see a vocal minority land on the front page of the Sun Press as they attempt to shut down the mere exploration of, a conversation about, what a diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice initiative would look like in our schools. How could our family, one that falls outside the majority, not feel sidelined? Perception drives reality. How can a community change the way it's perceived? The people who've lived here forever can't do it. The people who look like the people who've lived here forever can't do it. The diverse members of the community need to be the mouthpieces. We are the ones who can proclaim that a place is welcoming, that we are welcome, that our town's historic reputation of homogeneity is wrong and outdated. But we can't do that when a group of people cling to and propagate an inaccurate national rhetoric about DEIJ and try to shut it down. I commend the Board of Education and our district's leadership for initiating this program and devoting time and resources to ask these difficult questions. I support Chagrin's DEIJ program, and I hope the district continues to look inward and work toward one of its own stated missions, persevering through challenges. Thank you for your time this evening.
Next, we have Miss Rossi.
Thank you for having me. Don't start yet. Are you going to play the music like the Academy Awards? Then I'll know because my back is to the clock. Thank you, Board of Education, and thanks to this wonderful community for offering all of us to have a voice. We appreciate it greatly. We moved here 8 years ago. My name is Kit Rossi. I live on Falls Road. I am a Christian woman, unapologetically. I believe love is love. I believe everybody has a right to everything. And for some reason, the proponents of DEIJ do not believe me when I say I'm not racist. I have been told that I'm racist by saying I'm not racist. Can't win for losing. And it's those people who you are 100% entitled to your opinion. I don't want to be told that my opinion or my kids' opinion are wrong. And to the point that the DEIJ meeting notes, which are posted online, if any of y'all want to read them, it is recommended that teachers put a gay pride sticker on their computers, which I am in all favor for. However, studies show that, according to these notes, that children feel more comfortable if there is a teacher with a gay pride sticker on their desk. But what about the fundamental Christian students who are made uncomfortable by that? Doesn't make them right, doesn't make them wrong. I employ us as parents to teach our children that disagreeing is okay. And I don't want to be told viciously and disrespectfully and maliciously that the way I feel is wrong. It's my opinion. I'm entitled. I'm not right. I'm right for me. Your opinions, if you're different than me, are right for you. I don't judge you. It is not my place to judge you. And because I'm a white Christian woman, I am lumped in to a certain amount of people who don't represent me and my views. So get a hold of yourselves. If you have a strong opinion, teach your kids that disagreeing with each other is okay. Start at Gurney. Our counselors are overwhelmed with testing scores. We make an A+ report card, which is awesome. It's why we all live here. But we are lacking social emotional wellness. Start it at Gurney. Take the money that you hired a consultant for, DEIJ, diversity training, take that money and put it towards a counselor who's not overwhelmed with testing, state mandating testing. I'm not blaming the counselors. I get it. It's what they have to do. But we are missing the boat socially and emotionally speaking. If we can put children, if you're Jewish, if you're Christian, if you're Black, if you're white, if you're gay, if you're straight, whatever you are, in a room, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, by the time they get to high school, they actually have the tools to disagree with each other, because that is the world we live in. Thank you.
Yeah, if we could please hold our applause to the end, just like I said, we have a lot of people to get through. Lauren Miller. Miss Miller is next.
My name is Lauren Miller. I'm speaking tonight as a parent of 3 children currently in the district. I'm also a foster parent and an alumna from the class of 2001, having attended kindergarten through 12th grade in Chagrin Falls schools. I wrote a letter which reads as follows. To the Chagrin Falls School Board members, We've become aware that the board recently received a letter, quote, demanding that you stop the implementation of the DEIJ initiative immediately, end quote. We are writing to respectfully request that the work of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice continue in our school district. We understand that the DEIJ task force is an open group of parents, students, staff, and community members, and that no concrete recommendations have yet been made, nor changes to the curriculum proposed. Our signatures below do not constitute a blanket approval of anything the DEIJ task force has recommended or anything that similar groups might recommend in the future. Rather, it affirms the opinion that the work of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice is a worthy pursuit here in Chagrin Falls. We know that considerations regarding these topics may invite challenging discussions within our community, but they will also create opportunities to share the broad diversity of our wonderful Chagrin Falls families. We gain nothing by shutting these conversations down before they can begin. We better serve our children by celebrating our diversity and modeling constructive dialogue on these important topics. I signed this letter myself, and as of today, it's also been co-signed by 583 parents and residents of the Chagrin Falls School District, along with 133 more alumni and teachers who have firsthand experience with our curriculum. That's a total of 716 people in the school community who want to see this work continue. I hope this demonstrates the breadth of support that the Board of Education has within this community for a continued pursuit of the goals of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please try to hold your applause.
Just as a
Thank you.
reminder, please state your full name and address so that we can accurately record that in the minutes.
Next,
If you have, sorry, again, if you do have written statements, please leave them for me so that I can, makes it a lot easier to get them into the minutes. Thank you.
next we have William Lionweaver. Yeah, William Lionweaver.
I'd like to welcome our new superintendent. And this is a heck of an opening for her. A nice crowd, though, for you for an opening meeting. My name is William Lionweaver, and I'm a retired educator. Address is 165 Pheasant Run Drive. And I'm most certainly older than most of you that are in the room. I'm not a sage on a stage. I learned a long time ago, you can't do that. But I've still got enough of my wits around me to speak my piece. I had no idea how my life's career would take me when I graduated from Hiram College in 1961. But it included a middle school science teacher, high school biology teacher, middle school assistant principal, high school principal, Ohio Department of Education evaluator, consultant to superintendents around the state of Ohio, and director of special services for a number of years for a district that was about 3 times as large as Chagrin Falls. Education planner, represented this Board of Education to a number of projects. I've been a resident of Chagrin Falls for 58 years. Most of those were on Woodside Road. And so far, I've learned that there are very few absolutes in life and education. You could undoubtedly name the absolutes for life, but I think you'd be hard pressed to take and name the absolutes for education. Beyond the basics in education, I believe we must teach kids, students to continually question why and how. Why and how. That's what education truly is. Opening minds, written history. Written history is an observed and researched account from the perspective of the writer. Facts are sometimes omitted and perspectives distorted. And we must absolutely give teachers the mandate to open minds of students to explore different perspectives, discuss consequences, and agree to look for solutions. What if is possible? Sorry about that. Got a few more things to say, but I'll quit. All I conclude is, what if? What if is really powerful.
Do you want to leave your entire statement with the board?
Miss Tamara Chess.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay? I like to move around when I talk, so just you can use the mic. Okay. I'm Tamara Chess at 404 Deer Court. I stand before our community to address clarity and transparency to our taxpayers. A year ago, I made the decision to rally behind our district and support the levy. I was so incredibly moved to join the committee upon hearing about the programs that were going to be cut. Dr. Robert Hunt said it best. It is a critical issue to sustain current programming and minimize further reductions by the district. Why am I bringing up the levy? It passed. To be clear and transparent to our taxpayers. For a school district and board to outright state we need to sustain our programming and minimize further reductions, $22,500 is a lot in consulting fees to the Diversity Center. The question I'm wondering is what other funds are likely to be spent in support of DEIJ that will be diverted from spending on academics, art, music that I was told we so desperately needed. The meeting minutes from the DEIJ committee list proposed expenditures, including but not limited to a DEIJ rep in each school, create a new position, director of DEIJ, DEIJ training for students and staff, have a school district that actively seeks funding for opportunities and allocates time and physical space for diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice initiatives. Add JEDI into the curriculum. Change the focus from the idea of success based on academics and advanced classes to the development of a more well-rounded citizen in the community. Follow the money. DEIJ is a very important topic going on in every community across America right now. We all want unity. I'm going to leave you with this, a quote from George Yancey. Real moral suasion is about building relationships, not browbeating. Done properly, it has the power to unite us by making us want to identify with and care for each other. But trying to use social and cultural power to force others will only tear our communities apart. If we stop talking past each other and instead start talking to each other, we might be able to devise a solution that is accepted across the racial and political spectrum. Let's find a solution that doesn't involve taking away from our academic responsibility. Thank you.
Christina Lopez.
Hi, Good evening. I'm Christina Lopez, and I live at 1429 Bell Road in South Russell. We're a military family new to the area, and this was a very special move for us. My husband's preparing for retirement, and we just bought our forever home. I'm prior service. I deployed in support of Operations Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, and New Dawn. I'm a political science major, and I'm absolutely enamored with the US Constitution. As a member of the Presidential Honor Guard, I've rendered honors at military funerals around the country. I've served in countless wreath-laying ceremonies at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I've folded numerous flags with the utmost reverence and respect. And I have stood in uniform, representing my country, to a plethora of world leaders that have come to visit this great nation. Suffice to say, I'm really proud to be here, and I'm honestly so proud of every single one of you for showing up today, even if we don't agree. We arrived here mid-June amidst the uproar against the DEIJ committee. It was disheartening to see, and we questioned if we bought in the right area. As a multiracial military family, we've moved a lot, but this move may well be our last, and we chose very carefully. We've already had the battles in high schools choosing to ignore regular use of the N-word in classrooms. We've had the wall drawn in front of our brown children, excluding them from play on the playground. I've already been through this rodeo, so when we made the choice to buy a home in the Sugar and Falls community, it was within the Sugar and Falls School District. It was exactly for the sort of reason that they were proactive and also reactive to the sensitive needs of a diverse population. For clarity, having a school board that has initiated and started the work to make sure schools are safe and welcoming for all students is a huge plus and positive that speaks volumes for the kind of community that Chagrin is. So on our second night in our new home, we saw the uproar against the things that brought us to this very school district, to this very community, and I was pretty distraught. But then, man, did you guys show up. What spoke volumes and reaffirmed our decision to buy a home here was the overwhelming responses from the vast majority of residents who reached out, they commented, they put words into action, and they've taken the steps to defend the amazing things this community and the school here have to offer. The ones who are like, no, hold up, your hate has no place here. We are an incredible community and we have so much to offer everyone. We are the kind of community that has difficult conversations and listens to each other, that believes each other, and wants to make sure that everyone who lives here has the same amazing opportunities and experience. That's why I moved here. That's why I'm staying here, and that's why I'm going to show up for every single board meeting to make sure that this school board can continue the very important work that they're doing. If anybody wants to talk afterwards, I'd love to get coffee, so feel free to come up and say hi. I think we have a lot more in common than a lot of us realize. Thank you.
Next, we have Cindy Regan.
Hello, my name is Cindy Regan. I live at 255 Bell Street. I'm a teacher at another school in the area, and I'm much more comfortable talking to students, so I apologize if I'm nervous, because I am. The school I teach at has a great reputation, just like Chagrin Falls. And like Chagrin Falls, many of our alumni talk about their fond memories and experiences and return so that their children can attend the school themselves. But as a school, we realized not all of our students were sharing those same fond experiences. It would have been very easy for us to have said, why should we change? What we've done has worked for so many. It worked for me, it worked for you, so it must be okay. But the status quo wasn't working for all the people in my school's community. And to ignore that is the antithesis of a good educational system. My school tried to address DEI issues on our own, and we failed. We failed horribly, and we actually caused worse damage because we didn't know what to do. So my school called the experts. We called the Diversity Center of Northeast Ohio. They have been working with schools in the Northeast Ohio area since 2006. The Diversity Center's programs aren't new and aren't reactionary to the latest buzzwords. These programs have been used in schools for years. My school has been using the Diversity Center as a consultant and for other resources for over 10 years. They know what to do and they know how to do it well. The Diversity Center helped us learn that when some people are raised up, it doesn't mean that others go down. Respect and inclusion is not a zero-sum experience. Rather, when we raise everyone up, the entire community becomes better, and the community can grow together. My son is a student in the Chagrin Falls School District. I am thrilled and honestly relieved that the Chagrin Falls District is considering a DEI program, because to be honest, it will allow us to catch up to the other top districts in this area who have already begun these initiatives and these programs. So to the board, I want to thank you. You have a challenging and difficult role, but I thank you for being willing to be here, for consulting with the experts, and taking the long view to make decisions that will benefit everyone in our community. Thank you.
Did you have notes also?
We're at our 30 minutes. So if you want to continue,
Yes,
you're going to need to.
So our
vote to extend.
policy is that we have 30 minutes of public comment. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we extend public comment to allow all who signed up ahead of the meeting and at the meeting, at the start of the meeting, to make their public comment.
I'll second. Ms. Brudno, if you would please call the roll. Yes.
Mrs. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mrs. Bros?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole?
Yes.
Okay, next we have Robin Harbage, and I believe you're going to read her letter, Ms. Brudno?
Mrs. Harbage sent an email on July 22nd and requested that we read it into the minutes. Dear members of the Chagrin Falls School Board, I am a resident of the Chagrin Falls School System residing at 622 Falls Road in Chagrin Falls Township and have 2 adult children who attended the schools. I'm unable to attend the July school board meeting, but felt strongly that I needed to voice support for the DEIJ, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice work. I want to applaud the Chagrin schools for undertaking the study of the level of DEIJ in our schools. I sincerely hope this work continues and we design means to engage our students in thinking critically about DEIJ in our schools, our community, and our world. Our students will be faced with an ever more diverse environment and should be prepared to openly engage and grow in their interactions with all people and understand the value of treating all people with respect and striving for equity. To not prepare them for this future is to fail in our responsibility to make our children open and knowledgeable leaders of tomorrow. Regards, Robin.
Okay. Thank you.
When we read letters, would you please start the timer as well? Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Trisha Baumgartner.
Hi, my name is Trisha Baumgartner. I am reading a letter for Don Cooper Ryder Dole and Gary Dole that live at 863 Maple Hill Drive. Dear Chagrin Falls School Board of Education members, we are proud to be among those in the community who support the school district's efforts at working on diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice policies, practices, and programs. As we understand it, this initiative is open to anyone in the community and has involved over 90 people from school board members, administrators, teachers, parents, students, and community members. Working with each other with the guidance of consultants from the Diversity Center of Northeast Ohio, the group worked through a process called Appreciative Inquiry. Appreciative Inquiry is a change process created by Professor David L. Cooper Ryder at Case Western Reserve University, Weatherhead School of Management. Appreciative Inquiry has been used by businesses, hospitals, schools, communities, governments, nonprofits, and every sector of society to bring about positive change for the past 30 years. It is a process that helps an organization, group, or system learn from their strengths and the best of the past to create a path for the future. The power of working with Appreciative Inquiry is that all stakeholders are invited into the process, and it is a dialogic
and collaborative way of working toward creating common goals and initiatives. By embracing strengths, dialogue, and collaboration, the Chagrin Falls School District has spent the past 12 months creating an inspiring set of topics and ideas. Applying appreciative inquiry will help foster conversations and alleviate divisiveness. We commend the school board and all who have participated in this initiative. Our constantly changing world requires us to continually reinvent and create new ways of knowing and new ways of working together. Our society is full of diversity, and there is so much to appreciate about the richness of the diversity. We also have a long history full of racial inequities and abuse that needs to be learned about, addressed, and understood. We do a great service to our children by creating opportunities to learn and talk about our history, our unique, diverse society, and the many ways we can begin to create a future for all people in our society that values and appreciates every single person and group, regardless of color, race, gender, or social status. Our children will grow up to be the leaders and contributors to society, and the more they learn to appreciate the strengths of a diverse community, the more we can live in peace with each other. This is just the beginning, and we have much more to do to bring these important conversations in our schools and communities. Everyone can help by getting involved and sharing their hopes and dreams for a fair, just, and equitable society. Our children deserve the very best we have to offer them. Let's all work together in full collaboration to make this happen. Sincerely, Dawn Cooperrider Dole and Gary Dole.
They emailed it to you, right?
Yeah, I had
you on the list
for yourself as well. Okay, did you?
Next is Marilyn Weiss, and that's another letter to be read in absence. If you have that one. No.
Everybody, I'm just really thrilled that we're all talking and hearing each other. And I think that's what's the most important thing about tonight. I've learned some things that I didn't know before. And I just think we can all find a middle ground. We all care about our kids, and that's why we're here. I have several, Marilyn Weiss, I live 573 Solon Road. I raised 3 children in the Chagrin Falls schools. It was a while ago. There are things I want to share. Also, I have several reasons for supporting the DEIJ. As a licensed professional mental health counselor, I have witnessed countless examples of the effect of trauma due to bullying, discrimination, and lack of sensitivity. This is often the result of insufficient knowledge, lack of exposure, systemic legal injustice, or cultural conditioning. A non-inclusive environment deeply affects people, often more than we realize. Here are some examples from my own experience. We had a foreign exchange student from Turkey. She came speaking fluent English and achieved excellent grades. She became our close family member, US citizen, and contributing member of society. Yet that year was very difficult for her at 19. The only person who reached out to her in school was the guidance counselor, none of the kids. She often felt lonely, rejected, and ignored. I was also sadly aware of bullying and cruelty inflicted on a severely disabled boy who has since passed away. Frequent instances of gay bashing scarred my youngest son, who was too intimidated to come out until college. There was a swastika painted on our neighbor's driveway, one of the few other Jewish families we knew. I witnessed how deeply crushing it was for that wonderful family. The Latino family's children were humiliated and bullied in class. I realized this was a while ago, However, with the state of our country right now, with the amount of disinformation and assumptions being made that are not true, I think this is very relevant. These events influence my resolve to stand up for justice and inclusion, not just to defend the victims of these situations, but to point out that these attitudes and behaviors hurt everyone. An environment permeated by intolerance ill prepares our future leaders for diverse workplaces or neighborhoods. DEIJ gives students a voice to speak out against discrimination in schools, overcoming their feelings of guilt and powerlessness. Understanding diverse viewpoints opens minds to entirely different cultures. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Marin Kepp. I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm Marin Kepp. I live at 8742 Holly Springs Trail. I'd like to thank the board members and the superintendent for allowing me to speak in response to the recent letter to the board demanding the DEIJ team stop. I support the continuation of the DEIJ Justice Initiative in studying how the district can improve in areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion justice. I have lived in Chagrin Falls for 64 years and have a long family history with the school district. 3 generations and 24 members of my family have attended the Chagrin schools, including family currently in the elementary and intermediate schools. In addition, I speak as an educator in the Chagrin Valley for more than 30 years. The Chagrin School District maintains a reputation in the Chagrin Valley for excellence in academics across decades. That doesn't happen as a result of approaching education the same way you educated kids 60 years ago, but by committing to continuous improvement. Your educators at Chagrin Falls promote tools for problem solving, synthesizing, and questioning, and you prepare students to think for themselves and to analyze all sides of the problem. Thank you. Years ago, the district was responsive in adjusting its approach to children with special needs. That decision improved the Chagrin schools for all children by offering equitable access to the tools and accommodations necessary for learning to their potential. This district already actively embraces equity for children with autism, with mental health challenges, with special needs. Now is the time for improving the educational experience through a lens of race, identifying the systems and blind spots that put others at a disadvantage. I appreciate the discernment the district and specifically the DEIJ task force is going through. I respectfully urge the board members and superintendent to keep the process and conversation going around diversity, equity, and inclusion to maintain the level of excellence in education we all expect. Thank you.
Oh. Next, we have Kimberly Kilby.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Kilby, and I live at 100 Lakeview Lane. I'm mom to 2 sons who have attended Chagrin Falls schools since kindergarten. My eldest is currently a senior, and my youngest will be a sophomore this year. My children, my husband, and I love Chagrin Falls. We know and love so many of our community members and know that we live in a community where the dignity and the majority of us deeply value and respect human dignity. Just because we love it doesn't mean that there isn't room for improvement. One of my greatest concerns in moving to Chagrin Falls was raising children in a community with such a lack of racial, religious, and economic diversity, as our demographics here are not representative of our country or even of Ohio. I was concerned about what living in such a monoculture would mean for my children and their ability to integrate into work and social settings that will undoubtedly be far more diverse than what they have experienced growing up in Chagrin Falls. Maybe the reason I thought about this so much is because my non-mom job is being a civil rights attorney. I specialize in education law, and I have over 20 years of experience. I work with laws preventing discrimination based on disability, sex, race, and national origin. Specifically, Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, Title IX, and Title VI. As a public school district, Chagrin Falls can lose all federal funding if it fails to comply with these laws and then refuses to come into compliance. I want to be clear that civil rights attorneys are using all publicly available information to help prove hostile environments, be it based on disability, sex, or race. I've seen many public comments made by members of our community that civil rights attorneys would view as evidence of a hostile environment. While these people are a minority, they tend to scream loudly. As members of a board of a public school district, you must not let them distract you. My purpose here tonight is to urge you to follow the law. The Ohio Department of Education has a lot of great data available on its website. Look at this publicly available information, and you can see that Chagrin Falls, when compared to Ohio averages, has 50% fewer Asians, 10 times fewer Black students, 50% fewer Hispanics, even fewer identified as disabled. As parents in a community, we must educate our children about differences. They are not learning to love and respect others here and in our schools. Thank you.
Kimberly, do you want to give that to us?
So let me just remind everybody, so we're going to try to hold other comments or clapping while people are going, just so we can remain focused on their comments. Next, we have Eric Eichhoff.
He is not speaking tonight.
Okay. Next then would be Barb Windveen. Barb Windveen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barb Windveen. I live at 253 East Washington Street, and I welcome as well our new superintendent. Best of luck here. I was at the last board meeting on 6/16, and I think I speak for most in attendance in that meeting that we were there truly to learn more about DEIJ. Despite assurances from our past superintendent, Dr. Hunt, that there were numerous articles in local papers about Chagrin's DEIJ committee, none of us were aware of its existence or work. I have requested these numerous articles from the school and have yet to receive any. But my main specific concern tonight is to seek clarity on a specific issue related to money approved and spent by the school board for DEIJ. Greg Stricker asked specifically about a $7,500 expenditure paid to the Diversity Center. We were told that $7,500 was in fact billed and paid, and our records request bears that out. I might add that for that $7,500, we as taxpayers paid $250 an hour for 30 hours of consultation programs and workshops. The board was then asked numerous times if there were any other pending or anticipated expenses with this center. We were emphatically told no. At this time, we are done, meaning the board, we are done working with the Diversity Center, and there are no other expenses anticipated. Imagine our shock when a resident requested copies of invoices to the Diversity Center and received not only the previously mentioned $7,500 invoice, but a second invoice for double that amount, $15,000. This invoice was dated January of this past year, approved for payment by this board in March of this past year for work that completed through the school year through May. Our records show it was paid on June 30th of this year, a little over 2 weeks before the board was even asked about other expenditures. Most astonishingly, though, is the fact that the board president only conceded that the second sum was paid a month after the board meeting and only by way of a local newspaper. This doesn't seem like transparency. So can we clarify the following? On 6/16, the board was asked plainly about all expenditures. Can we clarify that the answer was $7,500 only? Can we clarify that they clearly assured us of no other expenditures? Can we clarify that they had already paid out double that amount? And can we clarify that they have actually spent $22,500 for this initiative without transparency? Thank you.
Barb, do you want to leave your comments with us? Okay.
Next, we have Erica Felder. I'm sorry, yeah, I skipped one. We have Melanie Halverson. Sorry about that.
Hi, I'm Melanie Halverson, 80 Carriage Stone Drive. Welcome, Dr. Pizzowski. You can expect this same sort of energy and attendance to every board meeting that you have. But I do want to take a minute and just recognize how respectful and listening everyone has been. One of my friend's 16-year-old sons was booed at the Solon board meeting, and we're not Solon. We know how to listen to each other, and we know how to talk and have conversations. I want to share my support for the continuing conversation and process on diversity and inclusion and how we can support diverse families and students. I am the first member of the committee to speak. I was the member of the parent subcommittee. I attended every meeting, and the discussions we had focused on how we can make every student and family feel welcomed and supported in our school, especially the diverse families. When we moved back to Cleveland from Chicago, we look for a walkable community, we look for great schools, great restaurants, abundant nature, and Chagrin quickly raised to the top. I did a lot of research on the school system, and I saw great things, but I also saw some things for improvement, and I wanted to be part of it. My family has been in the East Side suburbs for 4 generations, and when I told them we were moving to Chagrin Falls, they said no. They said there aren't any Jews there, and they're not friendly to Jews. But yes, I did research, and there are Jews here. And overall, most people are welcoming to Jews. I have to qualify that with most people, because not everybody is. My 3rd grader has taken it upon herself to educate kids on their Jewish neighbors and why some comments are not welcome. I'm proud that she can do things like that, but I wonder what happens to the kids who can't or won't. For every hurtful comment or othering comment my children encounter, they've heard many more against their friends who are people of color. It shouldn't be up to a 7 or 9-year-old alone to interrupt an unintentional or intentional racist comment. We all need to act. That's why a conversation about our expectations on how we support diverse families needs to continue. This conversation needs to be joint with parents, students, teachers, community members, and school leaders. Chagrin is not the type of place that shuts down conversations midway just because they're uncomfortable. We pride ourselves on preparing our students for the 21st century world, not just academic success. So let's be who we know we are and continue the conversation to see what supporting diverse families and students means for our Chagrin community.
Thank you.
I can't decide if it's an uphill battle, whether I should ask after each one or just let it go at this point.
Next, we have Erica Felder.
Good evening. My name is Erica Felder, and I live at 79 Maple Hill Drive. I'm here representing my family and the DEIJ. As an African-American parent and the co-chair of the parent committee, I wanted to clear up some things regarding the miseducation of the DEIJ and why they're here. First, critical theory is not our push. Why? Because we are a school system. We are not a university, and we're not offering political science degrees nor Juris Doctrine. Stop. So let's stop there. Let's put a pin in that. What we are focused on is diversity, inclusion, and justice. As a parent of a second grader and a fourth grader, I have dealt with racial insensitivity, such as when my fourth grader was told by a classmate after receiving a stamp on her hand from a librarian that the reason why the stamp was not showing up was because of her skin color. She's Black. Or when my second grader was told by a classmate that she doesn't belong at the school because she's Black. And the teacher sat in and listened and did not interject. As my daughter cried, the teacher could have used that opportunity as a great teachable moment to share how it was wrong to make a friend feel less than or that she didn't belong, but she didn't. She did not acknowledge how my daughter cried and wanted to go home and not return back to the school. Could this incident have been dealt differently? Yes, we all know this. We need diversity to make everyone feel welcome in our textbooks, in our staffing, in our activities that we all take a part of. We need equity, as in equity in education, equipping all students with the tools for strong curriculum, opportunities in books, materials, and equipment that make sure that our students feel inclusive in their learning. We need inclusion to make those that are not the majority feel a part of the mainstream. We need justice. That means learning justice by teaching, how do I get to know the other person? How do they get to know me? This allows diversity, and it identifies how my friends are different. I say this as a process of a new journey, which all of us feel nervous about, but yet we know that nervous things happen, and inclusion is going to make the change. I invite people to understand that we moved here as a part of a community. Let's start acting like an inclusive community. Thank you.
Mrs. Felder, if you want to put your comments on the stage, I'll put them in the minutes. Thanks.
Next, we'll have Patty Schroyer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patty Schroyer. I live at 310 Gray Fox Run in Bentleyville. Sadly, to quote a friend who refused to attend tonight, everyone's afraid to come for fear of actually losing their jobs and being labeled as a racist or a bigot. That's where we are right now. Community members, students, teachers, and some of you board members, in the name of DEIJ, are attempting to implement what amounts to a complete reinvention of our curriculum, based solely on what you have determined is essential material that will purportedly give our students a more well-rounded educational experience. To quote from the minutes, and I know you've heard this twice already, we want to change the focus from the idea of success based on academics and AP classes to develop more rounded citizens of the community. Obviously, that stood out to many of us here. The subterfuge surrounding all this has made us late to the table. We feel duped and excluded. For example, DEI members decided they were committed to maintain confidentiality and controlling and limiting participation in the committee. And worse, they would invite only those who are like-minded to participate. Where's the justice and inclusion in that? There's 48 pages here. $25,000 worth of work for recommendations, wish lists designed to supplement our curriculum. And we believe it would detract from the crucial subject material necessary to succeed in the world. Many of these concepts should be discussed with parents at the dinner table, at home, as they see fit, not in school. Board members, your mandate is to be stewards of our education, of our kids' education, not activists for social change. This is the most collaborative, inclusive, just, tolerant generation this country has ever seen. Let's build on that and learn from the examples of our very wonderful teachers. We don't need labels on our lapels to celebrate our identities. Kids are well aware of the beautiful differences in the makeup of this society and the ugliness of some of it too. What they don't need is to be hit over the head about their white privilege, but to take that privilege, roll up their sleeves, and actually do something to assist the more underprivileged. Safe spaces do nothing to further the important discourse that's needed to actually help the struggling people of all races. We, the silent minority, as we have been referred to, object to its contents and the manner in which it was brought to bear. Why has this not been vetted by the community? Thank you.
Mrs. Schroyer. Mrs. Schroyer. To put them word for word in the minutes or just summarize what you, okay. If you want to just leave them on the stage, I'll get them in.
We have Lori Pierce. Actually, so she had a letter to be read in absence, if you have that one.
Dear school board members, my name is Lori Pierce, and I am the new executive director of the Community Life Collaborative. I'm writing this letter on behalf of the organization, which is located at the Family Life Center of Federated Church. The Community Life Collaborative community openly affirms and embraces the DEIJ initiative for Chagrin Falls schools. In order for change to take place, we encourage the Chagrin Falls community to be open to difficult conversations related to what is and what is not effective in the DEIJ's initiatives. We are here to offer our support. The powerful voice of the Community Life Collaborative, expanding our footprint, has collective personal and professional experience in navigating difficult and uncomfortable conversations. We recognize that change is often difficult. Navigating new topics is often distressing. We are offering our neutral space and our professional expertise in support of the DEIJ initiative. The interconnectedness of today's world is expanding our ability to communicate and integrate with people that may have different ideas and values. It follows that places of education should be similarly representative of the environment that surrounds them. As a professional clinical therapist, I have seen the long-term damaging effects of hate and exclusion on children, adults, and families. It is time to embrace one another and boldly move forward with open minds. Respectfully submitted, Lori Pierce, MSSA, LISWS, Executive Director of CLC.
Next, we have Blair Woodward.
Thank you. I didn't prepare a long speech. I'm a born and raised Chagrinite. I was born here in '73. I'm 48 years old. I've made a business out of this town. A lot of you are my customers. A lot of you I graduated with. I've been here for a long time. I've seen a lot of stuff go down in this town. What we have going on with this DEIJ is not a wise choice. It's a psychological move on our children. They don't need psychological education from teachers. That's to be done at home. Bring it back to your home values. If your parents have a problem with something, call the other parent, have a meeting. My mom taught us well. She was a single mom in this town. She raised 2 boys by herself. I was the fat kid in school. You want to talk about diversity? You want to talk about name calling? I handled it. I grew up. It gave me a backbone to stand up, stand here in front of all of you, say my piece. You want to teach your kids something? Start it at home. It's not for them to do. They're here to educate our kids. They're here to give them something to stand up, look at another classroom and talk about something. Talk about how they can learn how to act. Talk about the history of our world. That is what education's for. You want to teach somebody something? Teach them how to have a backbone. Teach them how to take a little bit of sticks and stones thrown at you. You know what? Names aren't going to hurt you. It's going to teach you some integrity. It's going to teach you morals, ideals. You don't want to sit here and have our money going out to something else to screw with our kids, to teach them that they are less or that they are more. That is for them to learn. That is for you parents to teach your children. You need to really think about what you're doing with these kids. They're going through so much we have a pandemic going on. You got masks going on. That's a psychological abuse to your children right there. Think about the health issues you're putting your children through. Now you want to do what is it, 6 through K with masks in school? These kids can't even recognize each other anymore. I met a gentleman over here. He went to leave. I said, I hope to see you around town. I had to tell him to take his damn mask off because I didn't know who the hell he was. He just moved here from Texas. He wants a better life for his family. It's here. You want diversity? It's here. It's all around us. You come to Chagrin, this is a quaint little town. Everybody knows each other. You want to talk about a problem? Get together, have a beer at the Greenville, go to Rick's, something. Don't sit here and talk about all this stuff that you want to do to our children. Think about 20 years from now, the way these children are going to be. Think about the future you're setting forth and the way our society will be with these children. Do you think that they'll be able to make it?
Mr. Woodward, I'm sorry, your time is up, sir. Your time is up. Would you please state your address? Yes.
My name is Blair Woodward. I live at 14381 Chillicothe Road in Novelty, Ohio. My family owns property there for 6 generations. They own Nash's Tavern.
That's sufficient, sir. Thank you.
For 40 years.
Do you have the list, Ms. Brudner? Who has a list of?
One more request to read a letter from Annie Scott. Let me find it here.
Going to try to attend. Okay. We'll read the letter for them.
Dear Chagrin Falls School District Board members, I am writing to you today to convey my opinion on the DEIJ task force and its role in the community. As a former student subcommittee chair member in the Chagrin Falls DEIJ task force, I believe the DEIJ task force was nothing if not necessary for our community. In a homogeneous district such as ours, the initiative enabled a critical conversation among members. Open to anybody within Chagrin Falls, the task force cultivated an environment in which members could openly discuss any type of belittlement or exclusion, whether it be exclusion because of race, gender, sexuality, or anything else. The DEIJ task force did many things during my time on the committee, but never once did I feel the group pushed for or followed any conspiracy agenda. The DEIJ created a space which, from my observation, allowed members to open up and push for equality in all areas of the community. I believe that the concerns over the DEIJ task force attempting to manipulate the curriculum is baseless. There was no talk of altering any curriculum, only of changing one's own approach and way of thinking around other people to promote a more welcoming environment. I fully support the DEIJ task force initiative and hope that the rest of the community does as well. Thank you for your time, Annie Scott.
Okay, thank you. Do you have the additional
be Robert Chalfert. Did I say that correctly?
Hi, my name is Bob Chalfant. I live at 573 Solon Road in Bentleyville. I'm a 6-year Navy veteran, served in Vietnam, and very proud to be an American citizen and to live in Bentleyville in the Chagrin Falls School District. So I'll be talking tonight about critical race theory as a parallel to DEIJ. And it's not hard to recognize the parallels between what's happening today and what happened in history. In 1954, an elected official with a demonstrated history of grandstanding hoped to leverage cultural anxiety for political benefit. Sitting in front of him, a representative of the United States military, rebuffing those efforts in frank and clarifying terms. The issue was the purported infiltration by communism deep into the Army, and Senator Joseph McCarthy alleged into Joseph Welch's own law firm. Welch's furious rebuttal became instantly famous. Until this moment, Senator, I think I never really gauged your cruelty or your recklessness, he said, later asking McCarthy, have you no sense of decency? Today's debate is also a political, not an intellectual one, which is dependent heavily on using isolated examples of obviously anti-white rhetoric as proxies for an entire line of reasoning and broadly for an undercurrent in American educational systems. The opponents of critical race theory are directly elevating a cultural debate that's popular on the political right, a debate that tends to use critical race theory as a catch-all for any discussion of race and racism in America. I do think it's important, actually, for us to be open-minded and to be widely read. Our educational system culminates in the real world, and it is important that our students understand. What's wrong with having some situational understanding about our country? I personally find it offensive that we're accusing educators, school board members, universities, and us, citizens, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. Have you no decency? The effort to cast critical race theory as some sort of rampant anti-white indoctrination, which again mirrors all the anti-communist push 60 years ago, extends well beyond Chagrin Falls. The effort has, in fact, become a central part of the right's ongoing cultural fights, blatantly leveraging concerns about America's demographic evolution for political benefit. Christopher Rufo explained on Twitter that the goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspapers and immediately associate it with critical race theory. We have decodified the term critical race theory and will recodify it to annex the entire range of cultural constructions that are unpopular with Americans. In other words, critical race theory would become a stand-in, a proxy for a range of unpopular cultural struggles, most of which, given the descriptor, will focus on race. Thank you for your time.
Leave your comments. We'll have them included in the minutes. Thank you.
This is from my husband and myself. We live at 124 Ridgewood Road in Chagrin. My husband and I are retired teachers and have lived in Chagrin for 47 years. Previously, we lived on Long Island and in Evanston, Illinois, where our children were exposed to different cultures. Chagrin has many charms, but diversity was not one of them when we moved here. But slowly over the years, this town has changed as younger families with more open views have chosen to reside here. We were thrilled when the Documentary Film Festival began because it helped broaden the town's perspective about attitudes and lifestyles from different cultures. And I'm thrilled with the high school program where they show kids films from the Documentary Film Festival. As teachers at University School, we were grateful to be able to use materials to challenge and expose our students to differing points of view. Using primary sources enabled our students to think about and question social and political policies. We want our school system to use materials that encourage discussion and critical thinking so that students grow and understand what it means to live in an increasingly complex and diverse world. And we fully support the program. Thank you.
Okay, Beth Rakowski, thank you very much.
My name's Beth Rutkowski. I live at 97 East Bell Meadow Lane in South Russell. I am, one of my daughters is a rising senior at the high school, and the other graduated with class of 2020. So I'm a proud mom. I was also a member of the parent subcommittee task force of the DEIJ task force. But tonight I'm actually here reading a letter and representing the Social Justice Advocacy Ministry of the Federated Church, a lot of who are members are here tonight with me. Dear board members, we are writing in response to the letter you received recently demanding that you stop the implementation of the DEIJ initiative immediately. The Social Justice Advocacy Ministry of the Federated Church actively explores ways to create a more just world for all, in part by offering educational opportunities for people to explore complex issues such as race, racism, and diversity. Therefore, we are dismayed to learn that there are those in our community who do not even want Chagrin schools to study the level of DEIJ in our schools, let alone develop ways to engage our students in thinking critically about DEIJ in our schools and in our world. As we understand the present situation, the DEIJ task force has not yet completed its work and has made no recommendations for curricular changes. Given the unfinished nature of its work, our signatures below do not indicate support for any proposed change that might be considered. We sign in order to strongly affirm that the work of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice is a worthy pursuit here in Chagrin Falls. We believe our great Chagrin Falls students are up to the challenge that diversity, equity, inclusion discussions may bring. We do our children a great disservice and gain nothing by shutting down dialogue before it can even begin. Let us use this opportunity for exploration to share the broad diversity of our wonderful Chagrin Falls families. We are part of a global village, and our Chagrin Falls students need to be prepared to enter that diverse world. We can set a good example for our youth by modeling constructive dialogue on these difficult topics. Respectfully, the Social Justice Advocacy Ministry of the Federated Church. Thank you.
Next is, I believe it's Buzz Ostergood.
Buzz Ostergaard. I live at 38 Westover in South Russell. I found out, I guess, in the Sugar Valley Times that this whole initiative started last June in the middle of the shutdown of the country, particularly in Ohio, the COVID. I thought, why would you ever start something as important as this at a time when so many people had so many more things important in their life as in running businesses and taking care of people? I don't find any of you representative of my community. We all know the political affiliations of this group here. We know the political affiliation of almost the entire school teaching group. It's very similar to colleges, where people like me who aren't open-minded are harassed and called names, and I resent it. I resent it greatly. You've bastardized the words inclusion, diversity. It's a way to shut people down who don't agree with you. You should be ashamed of yourself. You can't build up a race of people by tearing down another race. And that's what's going on. And I'm not afraid to use what color I am. I want everybody to be treated equally, not by their color, as Martin Luther King said, but by their character. But that's been lost in this. This is a numbers game to people like you. It's a numbers game. How many Jews do we have? How many Catholics do we have? How many blacks? How many Hispanics? It's a numbers game. Doesn't mean anything to you. Equity. What does equity mean? It was always equality. You've changed it. There's an old adage, those who control the language control the people. And that's what you're trying to do. You bastardize language. Inclusion. I'm not included in your group. You're not representative of anything. Yes, you're elected, but you're not. Half this community is probably similar in thinking to me. But you're not like that. I know one of you, you people have got to think that you want to discuss what's going on and to make people's lives better. You have to realize this is a political movement, DEIJ or whatever you want to, it's political. It's an arm of the Democrat Party. And it's an effort to silence people like me. Well, you're not going to silence people like me. I speak out all the time. And quite frankly, I really, as you can see, boil over when I have to sit through, and the other thing is, it's a great community, but all I hear is how bad it is.
Next is Laura Hugh. Did I say that correctly? I apologize.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time. It's Laura Hoy. Yeah. My name is Laura Hoy. I live at 58 Olive Street in Chagrin Falls. I begin by quoting Thomas Jefferson, who said the measure of society is how it treats its weakest members. And initially, my sentiment was to urge the board to continue the policy regarding masks and social distancing when we vote for the return to school plan for COVID-19. And I'm grateful to hear that that's the current plan for going forward as of now, because my husband has a rare genetic disorder that leaves him immunocompromised. A simple sinus infection landed him in the hospital for over a week last fall, right during the height of the pandemic. For this reason, we chose to withdraw our second grader from Gurney, and I homeschooled her for 2020. But we really hope that our rising kindergartner and third grader will be able to benefit from the high quality education provided at Gurney. However, switching gears, I'm also a white cisgender Christian woman, and I also support DEIJ. They can be both. I am married to a first-generation Chinese American man. My children have as much right as any other family to see themselves reflected in the classroom and in the curriculum. Thus far, they have been one of a handful of children that look like them or have their shared life experience. But families like mine have conversations about how long we can last here before we succumb to the pull of a more diverse district. And this is a huge loss for Chagrin Falls. The village will only benefit by being truly welcoming, both with the quality of education that is a huge draw for incoming residents, and also by helping those residents, the minority residents who choose to move here, to feel welcome so that they want to stay and enrich the fabric of this community. We do want to stay, but we also want to feel welcome. Please help us feel like diverse families like mine are welcome by supporting DEIJ and also by wearing masks. Thank you.
Okay, and then I have Anthony. Somebody help me out. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, Superintendent Pizzowski. My last name is Fosicek, so we'll work together on that one. Parents and members of the community, my name is Anthony Fosicek. I live at 61 Olive Street with my wife Sherry and our two rising juniors. We've lived in Chagrin Falls for 11 years. So I'll just say it, the last month has been really hard. Watching a handful of members of our community behave in a way that reinforces unfortunate stereotypes about Chagrin has been disheartening, to say the least. As I reflect on the tone, distortions, rhetoric, and motives being used to reframe the work of the DEIJ committee, I keep going back to 1960 and the heroic walk of Ruby Bridges. Bridges, as some of you may recall, was the six-year-old African-American girl who bravely walked to school with escort of U.S. Marshals past crowds of people protesting a child who had the audacity of wanting the same opportunity as the other kids. Today, our community is in many ways awkwardly struggling to include a new generation of Ruby Bridges. Black, Asian, Latino, Native American, LGBTQ, special needs, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu. Their entrance may not be blocked, but obstacles still stand in the way. These kids may have subtle differences from others who have been here for generations, maybe on the surface, but they are no different from our own daughters and sons, and they are deserving of the same respect, consideration, and opportunity to thrive and fulfill their dreams. As you know, DEIJ isn't about curriculum or a political agenda. It simply seeks to make all students feel welcome. It's about opening doors, not lowering bars. While there are some who seek to halt the work of this committee, claiming DEIJ is a waste of money, I see it differently. I see it as an investment in our kids and our community, bringing it closer together, not further apart. But let's be clear, money is not the issue, because even if this initiative were free, I'd probably still have to be standing here tonight defending it. As we continue to discuss this issue, I'd ask each of us to reflect on Ruby Bridges and those who fought so hard to oppose inclusion and fairness. Decades from now, when our children return home to Chagrin, having experienced the big world outside the bubble, think about how they will remember this debate. History may not judge us by this moment, but it's quite possible our children will. Thank you.
Everybody on the list?
Okay, thank you. So that concludes our public comment section of the meeting. You certainly can. You are all of you are more than welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting, although the remaining agenda items, if you can see them, are what they are. Excuse me? It's not on the agenda tonight to discuss. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, nope, it's not on there. Yeah, thank you all very much for coming. We appreciate everybody's participation. It certainly goes into our thought process and certainly the public record. All right. Board's going to take a 15-minute bio break. We'll restart at 8:05. Okay, moving forward. So next, could I have a motion for consent agenda item?
You have to move up, so you're closer to your mic.
We could have a motion for
I'm not.
consent agenda items 7A through 7Z. Second, please.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Phil, I'm sorry, can you give me 1 second? My computer shut off in the break here. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, any discussion? Items 7A through 7Z?
Nope.
Okay, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin?
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mrs. Bros?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole?
Yes.
Okay, next, if I could have a motion for superintendent's recommendations 8A through 8M.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
And Dr. Pizzowski, if you could walk us through the highlights of these items?
I'll do my best. So we do have a couple of resignations, Chris Fishman and Victor. I met Victor through the podcast, through the Tiger podcast. So I'm a little bit sad because I wonder how we're going to sustain that. He did a really great job. But for both of these individuals, we just really appreciate everything they do for our school district and wish them, Victor, the best of luck. And in his new position and retirement, that's a big deal. To be able to serve our community and serve our students, we appreciate that commitment. I think this was a 4th grade teacher, if I'm correct. So thank you for your service.
Dr. Pizzowski, can I just give a little more? Dr. Fishman was with the district for many years, and 21, and actually worked in several of our buildings. So
Oh, wow.
touched a lot of families in the district and will be missed, but my understanding is she's offered to continue to work with the district, even in her
Oh.
retirement, on some of the initiatives she's interested in. So
That would be great. I haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet. There are a few hires. Haley, I did get to meet with her. Unfortunately, my computer is locked. Give me 1 second and I'll share a little bit. Haley's from Northeast Ohio, and she and her husband are currently living in Stowe, and they have a rescue pup. It was just neat to find out what they were doing with this rescuing of the dogs. She has an integrated science degree from Kent State University and graduated this past month with a Bachelor of Science in Education. So we were very impressed with everything she had to offer our students, very enthusiastic. She had already started working with our science department and engaging in the curriculum and the lessons. So we're super excited to get her here at Chagrin, and she's excited to begin her career with us. So great way to start. Melinda, I did get to talk with Melinda. I think Melinda is someone who has worked in the district for us. I think she did some long-term subbing, if I remember correctly. But again, someone who just wowed the interview team. She has a lot of experience in teaching literacy and writing to middle grade students, and she's had extremely positive references and looking forward to be an engaged member of the 4th grade team at Chagrin Falls Intermediate School. So we're super excited to have Melinda join our team. Unfortunately, the educational assistants I did not speak with, but again, we want to welcome those people to Chagrin. I'm just skimming down, and I apologize. I'll be a lot more prepared when I actually get to know everyone a little better. Are there any questions about any of the superintendent? Because I know the handbooks then were prepared. That's letter L. And then the second reading for the computer network agreement form. I know that that was shared out, I think, at the June meeting.
That is the second reading for the handbooks. I think the board has had an opportunity to discuss those.
As the community has as well.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that's the second reading for the handbooks. I think we've had an opportunity to review those and we count on you for that. So
Perfect.
good.
We appreciate you being down there.
And then the same with the policy. It's a second reading of the policy, so I think we're all comfortable with that.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin?
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mrs. Bros?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole?
Yes.
Okay, next we move on to treasurer's recommendations 9A and 9B. So Ms. Brudno, well, if I could have a motion for 9A to 9B
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. And Ms.
Who is the
Brudno?
second? I apologize. I can't see who's.
Lori.
You're so far away. Okay. Item A is the renewal with Medical Mutual. This is for our health insurance plan and the stop-loss coverage. The self-insurance contribution rates were presented in a board report, I believe. And I don't believe that there are any changes to our contract. When we do our renewal in January, then we will look at the contribution rates that we're going to be paying for that. Right now, this is just our contract for coverage, and then the stop-loss insurance that we purchase. And then item B is the disposal of equipment. The list is attached there. Typically, I would have done the June financial reports and then provided some sort of overview on the fiscal year, because June was the end of the fiscal year. But I have been spending my last few weeks with other endeavors in my office, not surrounding my typical responsibilities. So I will get that at the next meeting, and you'll have that information. So, recommending your approval.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin?
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mrs. Bros?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole?
Yes.
Okay, next item, if there is any other business folks would like to bring up? Seeing none, we'll move on. Announce our next meeting.
Ashley, is that the correct next meeting date?
It is not. I believe we are setting another meeting for the second, correct?
Yes.
Special meeting. So I think we have a special meeting scheduled now, Monday, August 2nd, I believe, at 5 p.m. in the Sands Room. That is our next meeting.
Public notification for that will go out using our typical process. We'll email the media of that.
Ashley, can you just state what the public notification stated as the purpose of the meeting? Do you have that off the top of your head?
Can I will put it in the notification. Is that what you're asking?
No, so just for people who are still with us, the board, all our work is done in public. And so in order to listen, we wanted to use tonight to listen and reflect on all the comments of the people that came and spoke with us. But we also need time then to talk together and talk about the work of the DEIJ task force and where it goes from here. So we've added a work session, a special meeting, which will be a work session on Monday the 2nd, so that we can work together and have that dialogue.
I apologize. I didn't understand what you were asking.
Sorry.
Right, but that meeting is still noticed and still open to the public, but it's not open to public comment, nor will we take any votes during the meeting.
Which was Dr. Pizzowski's suggestion, so that we can have a thoughtful session of listening and then move forward with the discussion after hearing public comment.
Other business? Okay, if I can have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Thank you, Mary Kay. A second?
Second?
Thank you, Sharon. All right, Mr. Udo, if you please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin?
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mrs. Bros?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole?
Yes.